Hey Ryan, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, you.
Yeah, overall, I'm doing pretty well. What you been up to lately?
Rolling out Argo workflows.
Okay. How's
Yeah.
it been?
Um, Pretty good. Uh, just one slight thing, but not a big deal. Just in the UI, it's kind of hard to see the recent workflows. For some
Okay.
reason, some workflows don't show up in the UI until you filter.
Hmm. That's interesting. We're happy to take a look.
Yeah.
Sis, which version are you on?
3.5.5.
Yeah. And you've got archive workflows on?
No, no.
No. And it's still having filtering issues.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's just I don't know how the list works. So I'm just like trying to like see if there's any builds that are like failing, or sorry, workflows. I'm used to Jenkins terminology here.
It's all good.
Workflows that fail. And yeah, the list doesn't always show the latest workflows that have ran. So I actually have to like filter, use the labels to filter for them.
So have you got more than one page's worth of workflows?
Yeah, we do now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So like there's it's yeah, like a workflow finished 6 hours ago. And then the one before that was 1 day and 6 hours ago, but there's been more in between that. So I don't know why they're not showing it in that list there. I don't know how it's sorted though. So I assumed it was sorted by finish date, but
You, you can certainly ask for it to be. UI is not my thing particularly because I basically only use it when I need to. But you should be able to sort it. But multi-page in 3.5 is, yeah, sometimes interesting. There is a PR that's not in yet. It's not in 356 either. It should
I think I know what
helps
you're
big
talking
time.
about.
Yeah. um, yeah, the one with the SQL-like database in it.
Yeah, I've been following that one.
Yeah, until that point, the that list is considered broken, I think. Yeah, and sadly it didn't go into 356, but at least 356 is out. There is a, but I don't have anything particular to say on whether you should upgrade or not.
Yeah, yeah. The feature looks like it might address this problem, which is why I haven't really said anything. So
Yeah, I think there's other issues that already say what you're seeing. Again, I don't track the UI as much as I do the controller stuff.
yeah, but other than that, which is very minor, uh, the rollout's okay. We're doing a phased approach, but yeah, it's been pretty good. But I do have a question about so I'm working on a bug that I found, um, and I want to like verify that I'm not breaking things by doing by putting like a breakpoint in my IDE and then start Argo workflows. Now I know because Argo workflows needs to run in a Kubernetes environment, so it's kind of difficult to do that, I think.
It is. I've basically, in terms of what I do, I've given up with trying to use an IDE in breakpoints. Um, I cannot get it to usefully work for me. You can so if you, this is in the workflow controller.
Yeah, it's the controller that I'm working on. I want to put
Yeah.
a point into, and I want to inspect the like a node status struct to see what the values are in there because there's some feedback that I got on the PR about changing something. Yeah, like I'm not going to break anything by doing that.
So if you print using, so I basically do printfs or log lines, mostly log lines in workflows, because workflows is pretty good with having a logger available. If you use the %v in a format string style thing, it will dump out something that's vaguely human readable for structs and stuff like that. So that's my recommendation. If you want to attempt to, you basically need to set a load of timeouts to be big, and you need to disable leader elections, otherwise it loses the leader election to itself. And I've not successfully managed to make it work for me enough that I have tried that as a way of working. Are you running it up using make start?
Yeah, I was using the dev containers. I started I just started trying to like I was looking at the guide, the running
locally.
Yeah. And I was using the dev container, and then I would go down, I'm like, okay, that will get me Argo workflows running. Yeah, I guess I could put some print statements in. I was just wondering if people have got the debug.
Yeah, that's what I do. So make start will rerun the controller. If you make code changes, it'll rebuild it, rerun it. The logs are streaming to logs/controller.log. So you can go back, and it is automatically being stored there. So you can go and look at them even through so you can do a code change, see the results. If you need to inject a workflow, you'll have to do that each time you make a change, that's my sort of usual code process, is to do that. I'm afraid I just haven't managed to make it so that it doesn't self-terminate. And I've discussed this with Isitha, who's also a maintainer, and neither of us have a work pattern that works well enough for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's all good. It sounds like I have a challenge.
Yeah. Sprinkle printfs. Get your friend. You can always just unsprinkle them quite easily and get afterwards.
Yeah. I might try to get something working with debugging. Now that I know that nobody's kind of got a solution there, I might just look in to see myself what I could get working.
So you're fighting all of the things that are running on timers and timeouts, and disabling leader elections is the one I can definitely tell you need to do. And then it won't otherwise it self-terminates in about 15 seconds. But then you can put a load of the other timeouts up. You need to up the list timeouts, and see where you get to. If you can find stuff, I'm happy to discuss it, obviously. If you're struggling with a thing, do give me a shout, and if you can make it work, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I guess would be, getting the workflows running in the K3s or whatever it is that's on the dev container with what's the debugger called? Delve.
Yeah.
With Delve, and that'd be the first challenge. And then
well, so you don't have to run it. So if you're running inside the dev container, K3s can be running, but you can run the workflow controller outside of it. That's what make start is doing. It's not running it inside the cluster.
Oh,
it's running it out of the cluster. So you can run that up using Delve, and that works. That will start it. The problem being that it kills itself really quickly.
I mean, I guess it depends on where you put the breakpoint.
Well, it's multi-threaded, and one of the threads will decide that everything's gone bad and it wants to terminate itself, is the problem. Or you get weird effects from the other threads. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so that's I'll have to see. I mean, I have successfully put breakpoints on the workflow controller in our staging environment and collected some debug information for an issue like a month or so ago, maybe longer, but
yeah, as long as you don't try and step or continue, you can investigate a paused environment. That works. It's the stepping and continuing that's the real problem.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Well, I think that answers my question.
Awesome.
Any other items to dive in on? Is that all your local development questions?
Pretty much, yeah. Uh,
Nice.
just yeah, I have a pretty simple change, but I just want to verify. Go the extra step, I guess.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, are there any other like Argo items that we can help you with while we got you on the call?
Um, uh, not that I can think of right now. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Well, glad we were able to be of some help.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. I'll talk to you all later.
Good seeing you, man. All right, Alan, any other items for us to cover today?
We had a question about performance of the user interface when you've got I think their scenario they had 1,000 to 3,000 nodes in the workflows UI and were struggling with performance. So I thought I might ask you
Just
about that
dive.
one.
Yeah, the my experience with the workflows graph is a little bit limited, but it comes from like ripping out the graph from the open source and like throwing it into our own product, and then having various like front end engineers like refactor it over time. It does seem like there's a lot of like React configuring that needs to be done, like simplification of the graph in order to make it scale better. There's a lot of like, I guess, unnecessary renders that happen. And then over time, if we're trying to re-render, I don't know, 1,000, 3,000 some odd objects on a page like pretty consistently, if we don't have like really good caching set up, it does like really quickly cause like a page to fail. So I think over time, you know, it would be a nice area for the open source to work on, but I would be surprised if it gets done immediately, just given how big the overhaul needs to be.
Cool. So any recommendations other than you have to kind of just dig in, somebody working on it?
I mean, shameless plug for Pipekit, like we don't run into as many of the issues within our UI, given we've put the cycles in on it. But if it is something that someone wants to do within the open source, then yeah, unfortunately, they're just gonna have to roll up their sleeves, you know, and dig into the front end code, which is a little bit challenging.
Cool.
Alan, you're interviewing me now. What's going on?
I am.
Normally
I don't
this is my
know.
role.
Role reversal. Yeah. Um, is there anything else anybody wants to say about the UI? The other thing that we were going to talk about was archived workflows. And
Like the upcoming fix.
no, a feature that neither Tim nor I nor Anton, who's another maintainer, knew about. It's possible to selectively archive workflows based upon labels. So there's a label selector in the archive workflows thing. Looks like JP may have, this may be a surprise to you too. So you can put labels on your workflows and then use a label selector to choose which ones you would like to archive and which ones you would like to just end up straight in the bin. So there we are. That's a thing I learned in the last week.
It's cool. Yeah, I feel like that is Argo workflows definitely has like a myriad of features that are just kind of like secret and now well documented. So add it to the list.
Yeah, this one is documented by being in the workflow controller config map example YAML and nowhere else. There's no documentation other than that.
I feel like that's true of a lot of things. The one that always is a little strange to me was what like QPS and burst are like two values that are just there, and I don't really know what they do, but they're
They
there.
are slightly documented now. Hello, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a page in the documentation somewhere to talk about them. It's still a bit hand wavy and a bit vague. it's essentially to do with how much it throws at the Kubernetes API at one go. And
Okay.
that's a very quick summary of what it's about. So you would use that as part of your tuning for if you start to see that you're stressing the Kubernetes API. That's one of the two things, well, one of many things you can tweak to try and get equilibrium. And unfortunately, there is no magic number, so you can't just tell everyone to set it to 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of trial and error and looking at your observability while you're making those changes in order to get what's right for you in your cluster. But
That is a good call out. We in the past have gotten many a question of like, what should these values be set to?
yeah,
And it's nice to definitively say like, hey, you got to figure that out yourself. And maybe there's documentation now, which is great.
there's a little bit. It's in from memory, it's in one of the scaling Argo workflows pages of the documentation. Only because I think I came across it when I was preparing for my scaling Argo workflows talk that I did last month.
All right. Any other items that we should go over?
Tim, do you want to talk about 356? I'm not sure there's
I didn't know
much
what
I
you've
have
spoken
to say.
about, but I don't have much to say, but it's probably worth mentioning that 356 was released this week, last week, over the weekend. One of those things since we last met.
Last week.
Yes. I'm not completely aware of what's in it even. I know that we are running it internally and have been since it was released. And it hasn't exploded. But that's the best recommendation I can give at this point, I'm afraid.
There is a slight performance improvement for archive workflows in the user interface components, but it's not the main one that makes everybody go woohoo that archive workflows are fixed in 3.5. That's yet to come. Other than that, it's a lot of bug fixes that are not particularly exciting from a personal perspective. So they're all useful to someone, I'm sure, out there. So
All right. Well, we'll do some testing of Argo workflows 356 internally and see what happens. In that case, good seeing everyone. thanks for Ryan for showing up today and talking about local development. And yeah, until next time.
take care.